Hello, America. I want to welcome you to the Glenn Beck program and tell you that tonight I'm going to lay out a theory. I have a lot of facts, but I want to separate facts from theory, and you have to help figure this one out because something is very wrong. It has been a busy couple of weeks for the president. There's a lot going on in the world, and it's his job to lead the free world. Well, what is he doing? Well, he just carded his 60th round of golf as president. I mean, who hasn't golfed at least 60 times in the last 2 years? Then, of course, there's the NCAA brackets. There's always a crisis. March Madness is only once a year. And today is St. Paddy's Day. The president went to Capitol Hill to celebrate that with congressional leaders. And tomorrow, it's off for a well-deserved vacation in beautiful Rio de Janeiro. Wow. May I just ask, is he bidding on the Price is Right Showcase Showdown, or is he running the free world? Tonight, you decide. Hello, America. There's a few things here that I have to lay out with you, and it's disturbing. A couple of reports that came to our attention a few weeks ago. But I want to put them all together with the facts, and then you decide. This administration's reaction to the events in the world has been incredible. I mean, it's the kind of foreign policy that we should have expected when Joe Biden was touted as the foreign policy expert. And President Obama is disconnected. He's lackluster, and he's inconsistent. You would think, who's running PR? Do you remember when George W. Bush gave up golf because it looked bad? Well, now we've got golf and everything else. It looks bad, Mr. President, but it's not looks that count. There is something wrong here. He urged more rebellions after Egypt, and then after the rebellions start in Libya against Colonel Gaddafi, he can't find 5 minutes to come out and voice his support. We can't find a way to have air cover for the rioters or for the revolutionaries or for the young people that just want freedom and away from a dictator. There's something wrong here. I'm going to give you facts tonight, but I also want to tell you my opinion, and it's really not even an opinion. I'm working on a theory here, and the opinion really is that something is wrong. Something is very wrong. And I think there are three explanations as I take you through this tonight. There's three possible explanations. One, style. The president has a style that we just haven't seen in any other president before, and it doesn't make it right or wrong. It just is a style change. Two, he's out of touch. He's disengaged. He's kind of in between presidential and King Louis and Marie Antoinette. I mean, remember, Marie Antoinette, when they said the people are starving, and she said, let them eat cake, she didn't say it that way. She didn't say, oh, let them eat cake. There's an insult. She meant there's cake everywhere. Everywhere I go, there's always cake. Why aren't they eating cake? They were that out of touch. And the third one is there's an unspoken agenda. The president is doing something that nobody's talking about, and it is different than what you and I would do or expect from the president of the United States or this administration. Something is wrong with the way the president is handling the Middle East, Libya tonight in particular, and Japan. And I want to lay out a case. I want to start with Reverend Wright. We know Reverend Wright. He was his reverend for 20 years. But Reverend Wright is more than that. This is the guy who taught him and led him to Jesus. I heard a speech a couple of years ago where the president said he had no understanding or appreciation really for Jesus and the gospel until he got it from Reverend Wright. Now, Reverend Wright understands a collective salvation. The idea that you can't be redeemed or saved unless everyone is. And whatever you decide is true, that's fine for you. I'm not trying to preach religion to you. But I'm just telling you that is the exact opposite of what Jesus taught. You can't find collective salvation in the gospel. It's nowhere to be found. There are no ifs, ands, or buts on that. None. Individual salvation is universally accepted as the principal message of Jesus Christ. It's important because it's the antithesis of what Jesus taught. Now, we begin there. The belief in collective salvation. The idea that you have to help others and you have to save others as the whole group. And if you don't, well, then you aren't saved either. By saving others that can't help themselves, sometimes you're going to have to tell people that they have to do something that they don't want to do, or you have to force them to do whatever it is because you've got to save everybody. This is his understanding of Christ through Reverend Wright. Later in life, the president replaced Reverend Wright with another guy. Once we found out about Reverend Wright, he went to this guy as his spiritual advisor. This guy has the same understanding. It's Jim Wallace. Jim Wallace is in the same boat. He is a collective salvation guy. He is also a Marxist socialist. Now, this is only just, I know we're rehashing old ground here, but something's wrong. And tie these things together. Go back to Reverend Wright for a second. We showed you last night, just a month ago, he was caught on tape, and we played it for you and had it on the website, glennbeck.com. He confirmed the idea that black liberation theology, which is what he does, is anti-capitalist, Marxist, and also anti-Israel. It's not hard to miss his anti-Israel pose. He is also, by any definition, I think, an anti-Semite. Many of his sermons could be interchanged with any given sermon given by Louis Farrakhan. Here is what he is asking: why Israel can have nukes, but Iran cannot.
We got far too many believers today who are not willing to name the demon. They can't tame it because they can't. In fact, they're content to dance with the demon, dance with racism, and dance with capitalism. We just don't have the money to dance with militarism. No, baby, we're not there yet. When we beat our swords in 2011, not into plowshares, but into nuclear warheads, and beat all those who don't dance to our music into submission, and we determine that Israel can have nuclear weapons like we do, but Iran can't have what we have.
Okay, so he goes on here to say, Iran, he is making the defense that Iran should be able to have nuclear weapons. So there's an affinity to Iran. He's clearly anti-capitalist, anti-American, and anti-Israel. This is last month. I told you last night, I actually respect, strangely, Reverend Wright, because he hasn't tried to hide his radical ideas. He is saying them. In fact, he has said the president is hiding his now to, quote, appease the Jews. This has been a consistent message. He has been consistent. There's really only, put the picture of Reverend Wright and Barack Obama up. One of these two is not telling us who they really are. Now, this is where the president gets his understanding of collective salvation. And while he was at this man's church, Reverend Wright went to visit Muammar Gaddafi. He traveled with Louis Farrakhan to Libya to go meet with him. We also know this. Barack Obama was influenced by this man and so many others. Now, the facts of once Barack Obama gets into office, it is a series of consistent history of actions that are not friendly at all to Israel. First, you have Hillary Clinton saying that Israel is unhelpful in the March 2009 settlement issues. Do we have my pointer anywhere? Do you know where that is? There it is. Then we have this one, Joe Biden. He wants to dismantle all of the outposts. In 2009, Obama criticizes Israel over the settlements. In September 2009, Obama tells the UN General Assembly that he doesn't accept the legitimacy of the new Israeli settlements. Then the White House press secretary lashes out at Israel over 900 new housing units. In March of 2010, Israel's ambassador to the U.S. says relations between our two countries is the worst in over 30 years. A week after that comment, this happens. President Obama ditches Netanyahu and doesn't pose with him for pictures, press conference, walks out of a meeting with him, insults Benjamin Netanyahu, the prime minister, by dining nearby but keeping him waiting with his advisors. The Israeli papers described this visit as, quote, the treatment reserved for the president of Equatorial Guinea. Why is he doing this? May 29th, 2010, Obama sides against Israel in non-proliferation treaty conference. The White House then expresses deep regret for the loss of life over the Israeli flotilla raid and openly supports a resolution that condemns Israel for acts resulting in civilian deaths during the Israeli operation. But let's not forget who's involved with that. That is Code Pink and another blast from the past, William Ayers, Bernardine Dorn. In September of last year, the Obama administration says it's disappointed with the settlements. In February of this year, Obama administration officials confirm it will support an Israeli anti-settlement statement. And then the U.S. vetoes blatant anti-Israel resolution, but still managed to feel obligated to express displeasure with Israel, calling their settlements illegitimate and a folly. Now, we've got a couple of other things. In the administration, we have General Jones. He is Obama's former national security advisor. He offended Jews when he told a joke during one of his speeches. He was talking about a Jewish merchant denying a member of the Taliban water, but offering him the sale of his goods. He told this joke, and at the beginning of it, I'm immediately hearing it thinking, my gosh, this is an anti-Semitic joke. What is this? Nobody said anything about it. And that's just some of it. Just some of it. But you get the idea. Somebody else in the administration actually refers to Jerusalem as the Arab name for Jerusalem, which is meant to be used as a slam to Jews. It basically means Jerusalem doesn't exist. Okay, so we know they're not fans of Israel. We have that. But that doesn't mean anything, does it? Does it have anything to do with why Obama was so clear to destabilize this region? If you come over here, this region, Egypt was on fire. And he was quick to go right to, Egypt is the only place that is holding the mobs back that are here, because this is what was on fire. At the time he was saying this, this was on fire. This was on fire. Tunisia, Algeria, Morocco, Jordan. We also have, Yemen. Somalia's down here. This was on fire. Bahrain was on fire at the time. And the president is saying, yes, rise up in the streets. But remember, he didn't do it with Iran. So he unleashes, he takes out, like or hate Mubarak, and I hated him, but he was the keystone of stability, holding down Israel. But Libya, when he says rise up, Libya, the youth in Libya, they start to rise up. It takes him 10 days to speak out. Okay, this is all old news. You know all of this. This hasn't seemed right, because if you want to speak out against, you want to help the people who are rising up, you don't do what he did in Jeremiah Wright's Iran. You don't do what he did in Jeremiah Wright's Libya and wait and stay quiet. You're busy, no press conference. You help immediately when the momentum is going that way. All right, something's not right. And then something else came to my attention. And nobody has really reported on this. I think I saw this reported on when I was on vacation. We've been looking into it for a while. But again, I was waiting for something, because something's not right. And you know what? I'm just going to tell you what it is now and what my theory is. But separate my theory from the facts so you know. So let me give you the facts. And you see if you can make a decision to figure it out. Here are the facts. This is a report. It's a report that Libya undertook a massive PR campaign here in America. It ran from 2007 to 2009. It is the project to enhance the profile of Muammar Gaddafi. Listen to this. The goal was to try to improve Libya's image around the world and emphasize Libya's new emerging. But perhaps the toughest goal was to convince you that Muammar Gaddafi was good, that he was an intellectual, that he was a thinker, that he should be an ally. The Monitor Group, it's a PR company here in America, specializes working with governments. It's actually based in Boston. It was started by a few Harvard professors. It's Harvard, keep coming up with this administration. They were hired by Libya to accomplish the task of making Muammar Gaddafi seem good to you, and maybe we could have him as an ally. Now understand this task. That's pretty tough. I mean, you have to convince you that he should be an ally, not a foe. But this is a big task. I mean, Gaddafi doesn't even look sane. We all saw him speak at the UN. He's nuts. Obviously, he needed some help. Well, who did these people call? Well, they called a couple of people. Cass Sunstein was one of them. And the next one was George Soros. In their plan of action, Monitor brags about how they would, quote, introduce and bring to Libya a meticulously selected group of independent and objective experts who would be invited to Libya, meet senior officials, et cetera, and then go write articles that would be more positively portraying Libya and Colonel Gaddafi. They also wanted to publish a book about Libya based on a series of conversations between Gaddafi and renowned expert visitors like this guy. You ever seen him before? Richard Pearl. This is a neocon. He used to advise, what's his name? Dick Cheney. Also served under Reagan. And then this guy. This guy is Lord Anthony Gibbons. He's a professor at, let's see if this school rings a bell, the London School of Economics and Political Science, home of the Fabian Society. Do we have the window? The home of this. The Fabian Socialists. And the place where George Soros, in his own words, says at the London School of Economics, he learned about an open society. He started his Open Society Institute based on what he learned there. Open Society Institute. Speaking of Soros, he had no problem working with Colonel Gaddafi. In fact, it was Soros who advised the school, the London School of Economics, that it was okay for them to accept $1.5 million gift from the Gaddafi family. Now, Sir Howard Davies, the former head of the London School of Economics, resigned when the news of the gift surfaced because it came with, you got to put Gaddafi's son into school. Now, who did he tout as the school's biggest donor for this? Quote, this is in his resignation. Don't have it? The biggest donor to the school in the past year is George Soros, who, of course, is of Jewish origin. We operate, I believe, in a very balanced view. Okay. So he gets in trouble, but he says, look, we have George Soros on our side. The other professors were embarrassed to be associated and give school to this guy, Colonel Gaddafi. And they were right. Gaddafi's son ended up getting big fancy degrees, and they were later shown to be nothing but plagiarism. He was plagiarizing his thesis. But at the time, Soros again, he makes excuses. And here is his excuse. He goes on, can you show Soros's quote, please? He goes on to say that, if you will, the left will connect with anybody. This is my theme. They'll connect with anyone. Here's what he said. It was a mistaken judgment to convince these guys to take him. It was a mistaken judgment. I had advised the school that it was acceptable to receive the contribution from Gaddafi's son, Saif, on the grounds, listen to this, that he appeared at the time to be a believer in an open society and claimed to be working to move Libya in that direction. So, George Soros and his open society and Cass Sunstein get together with all these people, take money from the Gaddafis to make Gaddafi, bring him into the world and make them look good. Why? Because it's an open society that they've promised they're moving forward. If you have a dream of an open society, a revolution, or a new world order, they'll connect with you. That was all the way back in 2009. He did apologize, and I just gave you the apology. So now where do we go from here? It only gets worse next.